Hey everyone. Sometimes after university, things don't exactly go as planned.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are in that situation. Like, a lot.
Right.
And you know what? We're going to deep dive into that today. We're looking at a step-by-step guide from a content creator, Vizzy.
Okay.
And, he actually ended up building a whole community around this. So, there's people out there feeling the same way.
Yeah, that's so good. It can be so isolating. When you don't realize other people are going through the same thing.
Exactly. And the first thing that he says to do is just acknowledge reality.
Okay.
Like, just admit it. And the thing that really stood out to me here is he's talking about how the job market has changed. It's not just you. It's actually a systemic issue where degrees don't mean the same thing they used to.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, for decades, it was like you get a degree, and that's like the golden ticket to a good career.
Right.
Stable, well-paying.
Yeah.
But it's just not like that anymore.
So what happened?
Well, I think there are a lot of factors that play into this. Globalization, automation, the rise of the gig economy, all these things have disrupted what we think of as the traditional career path. And I think a lot of graduates, they were told their degree was so valuable.
Right.
But then they get out in the real world and it's just not the same.
Yeah. So what do we do about this? Just wallow in self-pity?
No, definitely not. Vizzy really emphasizes connecting with others who understand, share your story. Talk about it.
Yeah.
Because even just talking about the hard things can be so validating.
Yeah, and it's okay, maybe my degree isn't this magic wand, but I'm not the only one.
Right.
And that itself can be really relieving.
Absolutely. And you know what? When you share your experience, you might find that you inspire someone else who's going through the same thing.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's all about community,
Love it. Okay, so we've acknowledged this new reality.
Okay.
The next step is to kind of take a step back and reflect on your journey so far.
Yeah.
This is where Vizzy uses his own story to show how unpredictable life can be. He moved to China for love, came back to the UK with a gap in his resume.
Wow.
Ended up working in a warehouse, which is not, maybe what he thought he'd be doing.
Yeah.
But what I think is so interesting here is he really flipped that experience into something positive. He didn't see it as a failure.
Right.
It was more like a stepping stone.
Totally. And I think that's something we can all relate to. Life throws these curveballs. And sometimes the best things come from those detours.
Yeah, but how do we actually do that? How do we turn those, curveballs into something good?
Well, one of the things Vizzy talks about is journaling.
Okay.
And it can be a really powerful way to process your choices. Do you have any regrets and what did you learn from them?
So taking the time to really think about, okay, this isn't where I thought I'd be,
right,
but what have I learned and how can I use that going forward?
Exactly. It's understanding your strengths, your weaknesses. And ultimately, what do you want out of your career?
Okay, that makes sense. So we've acknowledged reality, we reflected on our journey. What's next?
Well, step 3 is understanding the current job market. And the biggest takeaway here is that traditional careers aren't the only way to success anymore.
And this is where things get really interesting. Vizzy specifically calls out things like trades tech, the gig economy.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. I don't have to just stay in this little box that my degree put me in.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. You could have a literature degree and be amazing at marketing or content creation, even user experience design.
Right.
It's really about connecting those skills you learned to new possibilities.
So even if someone has a degree in, say, history, they shouldn't just feel stuck in academia.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, a history major develops critical thinking research skills, communication skills. All of these are valuable in tons of fields.
Yeah.
The key is to be adaptable and willing to try new things.
So it's all these steps build on each other. You acknowledge reality, you think about your skills.
Yeah.
And then you open yourself up to all these different options.
Right. It's all about changing your perspective.
Yeah.
Your degree is just one part of the whole picture.
Okay, I love that. So we've opened our minds to the possibilities. Now what?
Step 4 is building skills outside of your degree. I mean, it's not just about that piece of paper anymore.
Right.
The world is always changing, and you have to be willing to learn new things and change with it.
And Vizzy actually has a great example of this in his own story.
Yeah.
He started a YouTube channel even though he had a degree.
Right.
And that opened up so many doors for him.
And his success on YouTube is a perfect example. He loved creating content, so he learned the skills he needed. Video editing, storytelling, marketing. and he built a really successful platform.
But how did he make it successful? Was it the content? Was it timing? Was it the marketing? I feel like our listeners would love to know that.
You're right. And, I think the biggest thing was his authenticity and how well he connected with people. He shared his struggles, his successes, his whole journey.
So it wasn't just about the technical stuff. It was about being genuine.
Exactly. And it shows how important it is to build your personal brand. Something that makes you stand out.
So what are some other ways people can build skills outside their degree?
Oh, there are so many options. The guide talks about learning a trade, things like welding, HVAC, even stonemasonry.
Oh, wow.
All of those are in high demand, and they can be amazing careers.
Yeah, and those are great examples because they break the stereotype of what a good job is. You don't need a fancy degree to have a great career.
And don't forget about all the online opportunities. Selling on Etsy or Amazon freelancing.
Yeah.
You can start these as side hustles, and they can become something more.
Right.
And of course, there's always upskilling. Taking online courses in things like digital marketing or coding can really boost your earning potential and open new doors.
So many possibilities. It's actually really exciting. It's like, okay, maybe my degree didn't take me where I thought it would, but there's all these other things I can try.
Exactly. It's all about taking charge of your own career and making a path that's fulfilling for you.
Okay, so we talked about acknowledging reality, reflecting on our journey, understanding the job market, and building skills. Where do we go from here?
Well, step 5 is where we really start to put this all into action.
Okay.
It's about embracing what Vizi calls the hustle.
Okay.
But it's not just working your butt off, right?
Right, yeah. It's gotta be more than that.
It's more about working smart. Being strategic with your time and energy, and always being on the lookout for opportunities.
Okay, so what does that look like? How do you hustle?
Well, there are so many ways. It could be like networking. Strategically going to events in your industry, or reaching out to people you admire to ask for advice or mentorship. Just putting yourself out there, even if it feels a little scary at first.
Yeah, and Vizi's story is a perfect example of this.
Right.
He don't just sit around waiting for things to happen. He made things happen.
Exactly. He started that YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Built this whole community, shared his story. He really created his own opportunities.
Okay, but that all sounds like a lot of work. Do you ever worry about burnout?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And the guide actually talks about that. You have to know your limits. Take care of yourself. It's not about sacrificing your well-being.
Right.
It's about finding that sweet spot,
Yeah.
Pushing yourself, but not too hard.
Yeah, that balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, sometimes that means saying no to things or delegating tasks if you can, and setting realistic goals. Slow and steady wins the race right.
Small steps, consistency. I got it.
There you go.
Okay, so we're hustling, we're taking action.
Yeah.
But what about our mindsets?
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
Step 6 is all about shifting your mindset.
Okay.
And this is something that I think a lot of people struggle with. Vizi talks about how he looked at his warehouse job, not as his dream job,
Right.
but as a stepping stone. It paid the bills while he built his YouTube channel.
It's like flipping your perspective.
Totally. It's about finding the positive even when things aren't ideal.
Yeah, and realizing that even if your current job isn't your dream job, it's not forever.
Right. It's a temporary situation. It doesn't define you. It's just one step on the journey.
Okay, so how do you actually change your mindset, especially if you're feeling stuck?
One thing that helps is focusing on your goals.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? What are you working towards? Having a clear vision can really help, even when things are tough.
Yeah, it's okay, maybe this job isn't great, but I'm using this time to learn new skills, build my network.
Exactly. And don't forget to surround yourself with supportive people.
Yeah, that's so important.
The guide talks about having people around you who are positive and encouraging, who believe in you.
Yeah, because negativity and self-doubt can really hold you back.
Big time.
Yeah.
You need people who will lift you up, not drag you down. People who celebrate your wins and help you when you're struggling.
Okay, that's great advice. But what if you're surrounded by people who just don't get it? People who tell you to get a real job?
That's when you need to find your tribe. Online communities or groups where people understand what you're going through. There are so many people out there who are doing things differently. You're not alone.
Yeah, finding your tribe. That's such a good point.
It makes such a difference to have that support, to have people who understand your journey.
All right, so we're getting to the end of this guide. We've hustled, we've changed our mindsets. What's the final step?
Step 7 is all about planning for the future.
Wait, but didn't we learn that life is unpredictable? Like, how can you plan for that?
Right, that's the thing. It's about being adaptable.
Okay.
Like, yeah, set goals, but don't be so rigid that you miss out on other opportunities.
So have a plan, but be willing to change it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One thing that can help is to break down those goals into smaller steps. Like, what can you do this week, this month, this year to get closer to what you want?
Okay.
And it's also good to, like, check in with yourself regularly, see how you're doing, and maybe adjust those goals if you need to.
That makes sense. So it's like, I know the general direction I want to go.
Yeah.
But I'm open to trying different paths along the way.
That's it. And, don't underestimate the power of visualization.
Oh, yeah.
Take some time to really imagine yourself achieving those goals. Like, what does that look like? How does it feel?
Yeah.
That can really help you stay motivated.
Okay. So we've planned, we've visualized. Now, how do we actually make it happen?
Step 8 is all about taking action.
Okay.
It's about putting all this planning into practice. And it doesn't have to be this huge thing.
Right.
Start small.
Just do it.
Exactly.
Oh.
Update your resume, reach out to someone for advice, spend an hour working on your side hustle. It's about getting the ball rolling.
Action creates more action, right?
Yeah, once you start, it's easier to keep going.
Yeah.
But I know it can be hard to stay motivated, especially when it comes to building a career.
Right. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
You got it.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to celebrate the small wins.
Yeah. Like, even if they seem small.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, acknowledge your progress, give yourself credit for the work you're putting in. Those little wins can really boost your confidence and keep you going.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. What are some of the biggest things you take away from this guide?
You know, one of the biggest things for me is that, like, your degree doesn't define you. It's just one part of your story. There are so many different ways to be successful, and it's okay if your journey looks different.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be that straight line that everyone expects.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like really empowering to realize you can make your own path,
Right.
but it can be kind of scary too.
Oh, yeah?
Like, where do you even start?
Well, that's where Vizzy's advice about the hustle comes in. You know, take action. Even if it's just a small step. And remember, it's not just about working hard. It's about being smart, you know?
Yeah.
Networking, building skills, always looking for new opportunities.
Okay, so action is key, but so is mindset, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get negative and doubt yourself, especially when things aren't working out the way you thought they would. But Vizzy's story shows us that we can choose how we see things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can look at your job and just see a dead end, or you can see it as a stepping stone to something better.
Right, so true.
It's all about perspective, and that's something you can control. Focus on the good things, the lessons you're learning, even the little bits of progress you're making, and surround yourself with people who believe in you.
Yeah, those people are so important.
They really are.
Speaking of support, one of the things I really liked from the guide was how much it talked about finding your tribe.
Yeah.
Like those people who get what you're going through.
Right. It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Exactly. And when you're trying to do something different, building a good network is super important.
Absolutely. Find people who inspire you, who push you to be better, and who support you.
And remember that tip at the end of the guide about connecting with people who have been there.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
I think that's really valuable.
Me too. Hearing from people who have walked a simpler path can be so inspiring because they had those same doubts and fears, but they made it through.
Yeah.
And their stories can help you too. They give you advice. You know, they make you feel less alone.
And it's so much easier to find nice people now with all the online groups and stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There are groups for everything. So if you're feeling lost, remember, you're not alone. There are people out there who understand. Just reach out.
You never know where that could lead. Could be a new friend, a mentor, someone to work with, or even just someone who gets you.
Right. It's amazing how powerful those connections can be.
Okay, so to wrap things up, if you're listening and feeling lost, if your degree isn't doing what you thought it would, remember this. You're not alone. This isn't your fault. The world is changing. The job market is different now.
And the great thing is you can change too. You can learn new things. You can create your own path. It might not be what you imagined, but it could be even better, more fulfilling, more aligned with who you are and what you want.
Love that.
So embrace that hustle. Change your mindset, build your skills, find your people. And remember, you can do amazing things. Your journey is just getting started and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So what's one small step you can take today to get closer to your goals? It doesn't have to be huge. Just something to get started.
And remember, we're rooting for you.
We are. We're here for you every step of the way. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.